I never thought life would bring me to a place where I would be talking to people from across the globe through a screen. Uh, I dare say at one point in time, I might have said something like, no, 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 that's not something I want to get into. But here I am, and I have to say that I have tons of help. So I just want you to know who are the people who are the backbone behind this. I'm just the voice, the backbone. Uh, Madhvi, can you say hi, please? Raise your
Hi
hand.
everyone.
Hi, Madhvi.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi Madhvi.
And
Hi everyone.
Hi, hi.
and as a sign of respect, sometimes you'll notice that you can see only Madhvi's eyes. So what we tend to do when we do that is to create respect. This is what we do. Thank you. And Chetan, can you say hi?
Hi guys.
Yeah, hi, Chetan.
Hi,
And
Hi,
guys.
Chetan.
Hi. Hi.
Chetan's the visualizer. We have these wonderful conversations about what I want to say, and then he gives it Jan or life through the presentations that you're going to see. Right. So I don't know any other way to begin but with a story. So the story is that when we started the first online session, uh, I think this because this is so new to all of us. We try somewhere I was trying to bridge a lot of different things, and the only way I could express it was through this picture that you see. First, we had you have a tightrope walker.
Mm.
This thing is called tightrope walk or slack lining, and we had somebody on a slack line who's 1,000 feet, kind of walking over 1,000 foot deep gorge, and that's what it felt like. And of course, that rope is being held on two banks, but the banks weren't seen, so it felt like, metaphorically speaking, we don't know where we are coming from and we don't know where we are going, but it certainly feels like a balancing act. And that seemed okay for the first session, and that's exactly what it was. So we went through the second session, and I said, hey, this tightrope walk is still a tightrope walk, but it's not so bad anymore. It doesn't feel like I don't know where I'm coming from or where I'm going. So we found this image. And I think this image interestingly expresses another part of it. And you'll notice that there are two cable cars and there's still tightrope going on, but for some reason that, um, can you see my mouse moving around? Yeah. So if this was the starting point and this is the destination, it's still a tightrope walk, but I think I'm beginning to know where I'm coming from and where I'm going. And just 2 days ago, we did the fifth session for the first group. I got to tell you, it's been most exciting. And I never would have imagined that. Uh, I never imagined I would be able to sense what people were getting from it through a screen. But with a combination of tools that we're trying to use, I'm certainly beginning to get a sense that value is being transferred, not just from me to you, but across the group as well. So let's hope that continues with this group as well. We've had to upgrade our knowledge and our technology to make certain things possible. And I'm going to make it as exciting as possible for you. So I hope you're on a laptop. Ideal scenario, but if you don't, that's okay. Um, I hope you've got your phone next to you because we will be sending you a message on WhatsApp and using that medium to collect information and collate it where we're sitting. If you don't have water with you, get it because I've been told that once I start, I don't know when to stop. Somebody forcibly has to give me a glass of water and say, "Okay, shut up and drink some water now." So this is water. Cheers. I hope you have your cup.
No, I have to get mine.
Even if I'm doing all the talking, I realize that people listening also need water. So I hope you have that. And those of you who are note takers, I'm guessing you already have it there. But there might be moments during which I might ask you to write something. If you want to make your own notes, do that. If you want me to stop because you need to write something, feel free to do that. Just remember that if your cat walks onto your keyboard and hangs around there for a while in front of the camera, that's fine too. It's all good. Which is why I ran away from home to a friend's office because my dog comes and hassles me sometimes. I think you have the freedom to do that. Maybe I don't, but who knows what's going to happen. So there's this, we're here with great intent. We know what we want from this, or at least some of us do. And some of us are here out of curiosity. And some of you are here because you've been told that, hey, this is a fun place to be. Whatever your reasons, thank you very much for being here. As a format for the course, I will be walking you through a map a little later. But at this point in time, you've chosen to be here. We're going to be spending a considerable amount of time together. Even if it doesn't count up to more than 16 to 20 hours, I can assure you that it's going to feel a lot longer. Thank you for making your Saturday evening available. So here's something I'm going to open out to you, and if you have your phone nearby, we're going to send you a URL. And the question I have for you is, you're all there, different parts of the world, different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And you have your own reasons for being here. And I'm sure they're all good. But it is also possible that you have some questions for me. Is there anything that you want to know about me? So this is not about the course. This is about me as a person because sorry, but you're going to put up with me for 16 hours. So who's this guy? Is there anything that you want to know? We're sending you the URL and just type in your question and we will collate it at our end. And then we'll display it for you. Okay? So it's been sent, I believe. Take a look at your phone. You got it? Yeah. So go ahead. If you have a question, you want to know anything about me. This is instead of me giving you an introduction and my life story, just asking you what specifically do you want to know about me. Started?
No, there's no link.
The sharper your question, the easier it will be for me. This is also an exercise, this whole reflection facilitation piece is all about asking questions, right? So if you want me to make my question sharper, it would be, what do you really want to know about me? Oh my, really? Oh my God. Uh,
Hi, Vishwas. I was just writing the question that how did you land up in experiential learning? I was going to write it, but I can see the question over there. So can you just
Something deeper to it.
tell me about it?
Yes, so I will answer that question.
Sure.
So just in case you've forgotten, my name is Vishwas. Are they able to see this?
Yeah.
Can you see the questions?
Yep.
Okay. I don't have a Harley. I do have a BMW. Uh, okay. Okay. So I'm just going to give it 10 more seconds. You really do, other than what you do. Hey, you're not allowed to throw my questions back at me. Maybe you are allowed. Okay. Okay, some of the easier ones I'm just going to hit away straight away. How do you explain what you do in one line? Have a jolly good time. Experimenting at somebody else's expense. I think that's a good description. I have no vision in life. I have never had one. I want to wake up every morning joyful if I can, and I try and make it a conscious practice. So as soon as I get out of bed, I say today is going to be a damn good day. My interests other than experiential ed, trekking. So I'm talking about 10, 15-day treks, wood carving, and playing the guitar, which I've been at the same stage over 40 years of practice. I don't have a Harley. I have a what they call a BMW Baby. It's a nice zippy bike. It's bright red. And I think most of the questions seem to be about how did my journey in experiential ed. Okay. Okay. So let's begin. I'm going to cut my. Okay, so I went to boarding school at 6.5, and kind of stayed pretty much discovered what community living was about through the fact that I lived in a boarding school, and then college, and then I was always away from my parents, so I discovered family at a pretty late age when I had my own family, and I don't know if I found out what family means yet. I did I studied in a Krishnamurti school. Those of you who heard of Jiddu Krishnamurti, a place called Rishi Valley School down south. And all my schooling was done there, partially there and partially in Brockwood Park in England. Two teachers from there are part of our group. And yes, I think this question was asked separately, but have I did have some pretty good time with Krishnaji himself. We many interesting conversations over lunch, over breakfast, because when I was in Brockwood Park, we could do that. He would come and eat with us. But I don't know if I can. That part of me, of my childhood, certainly affected who I am today, but I'm not sure which part it is. Actually, I do know. There's this romantic notion I have that Krishnamurti started the schools that he has across the. I think he has 5 or 6 schools across the country. This is my romantic notion. So anybody who has read Krishnamurti or knows more than me, I'm still right. And so I think it was a romantic notion that he wanted to start a school where children could grow up without fear. And what that looks like, sounds like, feels like, that part of me, I think, has deeply affected what I'm trying to do constantly when I'm working with children or with adults or even through Zoom, because even Zoom is a threat. So did my college, wasn't very good. Didn't attend class much, like I'm sure all of you know. Most of you have probably had a similar life. Scraped through, and my education really began when I started working. I worked with corporates for about 12 years, mostly in sales and marketing, and then I started selling computers in the early 80s. Um, Retired hurt from corporate life in 89. And I think that's when my journey really began. I went to teach in a school and took a bunch of kids out on a trek to the Himalayas, and when we came back, everybody noticed that they were behaving differently, they sounded differently, the language they used, the way they carried themselves, they laughed more, they smiled more. And they said, "What did you do?" And I said, "I don't know. I just took them for a trek, and it was a 7-day long trek." And what I clearly remember was that all the tough ones, most of the tough ones fell apart, and the scrawny ones made it. They just came alive after 10,000 feet. And I don't think that visual has ever left me. I said something definitely happened out there. I didn't ask any more questions, but I began to use the outdoors and adventure with groups. I went to Dehradun. From there, I was in, and I moved from teaching in the classroom to setting up a learning resource center at this boys' school in Dehradun. I was there for a year. And I think my trip at that point in time was, I realized that institutions were saying one thing and doing another. So a lot of institutions have these plaques, and they have these vision statements and mission. You know what I'm talking about, right? So anytime I ask you a question, you know what I'm talking about, right? What it means is I'm checking in whether you've gone to sleep or you're still there. So if you feel like every once in a while you want to applaud, there's something called reactions. Go ahead and show me that you are awake. You can also, if there's something I've said with which it's familiar, you know what I'm talking about, and it's familiar to you, and you felt it, you can do this. Okay, this is silent applause, and it's also very visual. So just remember to stay active while you're doing that. And if life gets too tough because I talk a lot, you can just, you can just kind of sit up and shake out a bit, shake your head, don't drop it off, do whatever you want to. Okay, great. So my journey continued in schools. I stayed with schools from 89 to 97 in various places. Dehradun, then I went to Panchgani. I was there for setting up another center there. Got into camping, and then I got an invitation to present a workshop at a place in England called the Brady Hall Trust. And so the Brady Hall is known for being founded around the same time that Outward Bound. Raise your hand if you've heard of Outward Bound. Okay, it's an outdoor organization, and so Outward Bound went the outdoor way, and Brady Hall went the corporate and deep reflection way. And they were holding it there, and I said I'm a poor school teacher, which I was. I said, yeah, you know what? I'll make my way there. You look after me and train me. The funny thing is, they agreed. So I went there, hung around for 6 months. I learned from them. I worked with them. I did a whole bunch of outward bound courses. I was already pushing 40 at that point in time. And I was competing so I did a rock climbing instructor's course, a mountain leadership course, all kinds of different things. Survival course, which almost killed me. So somebody asked me this, story behind the badass beard and the bald head. Yeah, that's when it really happened. This was 96. Finished the survival course. And I was a mess. I mean, if you've been in the outdoors for 5 days and not done much with your hair, Milind, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? Then I came back and I said, let's get rid of it. So somebody had a machine handy and I kind of did that. It felt really good. I never went back. So all the side entertainment that so many of us have about losing hair or hair turning white, I can assure you I've had no such struggle. Started my own outdoor organization. Did that for 3 years. In 99, I went to the US to attend an international conference that's run every year in November, in the first week of November, by the Association for Experiential Ed in the US. And so that visit to England changed my life. I came back. The school was a very small place. Somebody said, hey, why don't you start something of your own? He gave me a piece of land and money and he said, start it. And I did that for 3 years. 99, I went to the US, attended the conference, another kick, hung around in the US for 2 months, traveling, visiting various organizations. At the conference, I was, I was tired and I was walking back to the hotel and there was this room, a lot of noise coming from there. And the door was open. So I went there and I was standing at the door, casual like, leaning on the door, looking very tired. But there was an energy in that room that was incredible. And the person who was doing the talking, she noticed me and said, hey, come in. I said, are you sure? She said, yeah, everybody is welcome. So I walked in and life's never been the same. They were doing a Play for Peace workshop. And I was so excited. I said, hey, can I take this back to India? She said, you already have. And that was my first introduction to my guru, mentor, friend, soulmate, call her what you like, Laurie Frank. She's been to India 4 times. She loves the country. I'm sure she'll come again. A lot of her books are in the store. Wonderful person. So since 2000, I've been an independent consultant. Corporate work, children's work, youth work, travel the globe with Play for Peace as Director of Global Operations. And I think I have to say that I consider myself immensely privileged. Definitely because I did something for myself, but definitely because all those people who have made those contributions to my life did so. Oh, that's bright.
Sorry.
Am I, without the light, am I bright enough? Thumbs up if you're still listening to me. Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. You can tell me to stop anytime, okay? You just do this and I'll get the message. So don't worry about that. But it's important. I need to, the reason I'm sharing this with you is the reason I'm doing this. I think the purpose is that I got a lot and I'm trying to give it away. I want to die a pauper. So, and the only way I know how to do it is to do what we are doing right now. And thank you for being here. Yeah, I mean, the rest of it is really kind of, okay, so somebody said, come and teach. I said, who will want to listen to me? I said, I don't have a place. I don't have this. I don't have that. She gave me everything. And the course began, that course that some of you have heard of called the Diploma in Experiential Education and Practice. It started in Pune in 2010. So it's 10 years since. I've done 14 batches in 4 different cities of the country. And my promise to myself is as long as there are people interested in it, I will do it. And that's pretty much how things work. So anything specific you want to know? That's my story. Anything, if your question has not been answered, the reason I'm doing this is there are different ways that a person builds credibility with his audience. Sometimes as educators, trainers who walk into 2-hour, 4-hour, 6-hour sessions, we don't even have that opportunity. But unless we do that, we know that unless we are being received well by our audience, they have the freedom to say, forget it, you're a useless guy. You know what I'm talking about, right? So you have the freedom to say that, but if there's something you want to know that will help build credibility, feel free to ask, and I assure you I will answer it as honestly as I can.
Hello.
Yes.
Vishwas, Bindu here. Yeah, I just wanted to know, you said it's been 10 years and across 14 different cities. No, 14 different batches across cities. So can you please throw some light on like how was the experiential education when you began and how much has it changed or what change have you brought in across these years? I mean, something which you have found out, something to change or differ.
Okay, can you sharpen that to one? What do you really want to know?
Like, when you began with the experiential education, which you started off, like imparting the teaching part of it. Okay. Has it changed much or is it on the same line still?
We've got about 10 people who've been through that course in this group. I have no idea why they're back. But it appears, so one of the things about the course is once you join, you have a life membership free. So people keep walking in. And many of them have finished the course and returned their certificates because they said, I don't think I'm worthy of it yet. I will come back to you and take it away from you when I think I'm worthy of it. And I think one of the reasons they're doing that is that I don't think the course has been the same. There have been 14 different courses, if you ask me. And what you're going to go through is going to be different from the online course 1. We've already made changes. We've already made refinements. We've already added material. the content has changed, the context is changing constantly, and does that answer your question? Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, Anaga.
What kind of person you are now?
I'm much better with my internal conflicts.
Okay.
I'm a lot more joyful. I can turn on crazy whenever I want.
Mhm.
I think that's good enough, no?
Yeah. Thank you.
I wait for 10 more seconds. And just remember, you can throw a question at me in this context anytime you want.
Hi, Vishwas.
Ah, yes.
So, I heard, you were waiting for a very long time to, host Deep as a, hands-on course where we meet. So, what made you think that, you can, transfer that into a online course and it's possible to learn online because, you know, so I don't know if do you understand the question or should I rephrase?
I can answer what I've understood.
All right.
Okay. It was an experiment. So I think, there's this organization that runs out of Bangalore called Quest Alliance. Some of you may have heard of it. They invited me to do a 1-hour session. I said, yeah, that's great. That will be my first online thing. And it turns out there were 660 people on it. I have no idea why. And they stayed for that hour. And, what's normal for me is hour goes to an hour and a half. I warned you, didn't I? On the website, I've said flexible. So if you're a person who has dinner at 7 o'clock, please pick up your meal and come back and sit down. That's fine. And I wasn't, and it, I think I got a lot of interesting feedback. And they said they got a lot. And I was already moving towards, I said, yeah, I need some entertainment in my life. So that's your answer. I'm enjoying this. I find that I have to relate differently. I find that I have to say things differently, present them differently, do them differently. I'm on a new course myself. And that's the answer. Yeah? Okay. We've got time for one last question and then we'll move on.
All right. Vishwas, I've got a question. Do you think there's going to be like a deeper version of this course?
Yes.
Any idea when?
But I'm ready.
All right. Can I join?
Oh, thank you so much, Samir. I mean, thank you for being here. I know you did deep in Bangalore and you're back here. And I know you bunked a lot of classes, but what the hell? Yeah, you can't run away from this one. So I did try the advanced course and I ran one batch. Is there anybody here from the deeper? So we were running out of ways to describe it. Oh, there you are, Anu. So we were running out of ways to describe it, so we said deeper. And it was originally intended as deep, ER. You know what ER stands for, right? No?
No.
Emergency room. emergency room. It was supposed to be a place where people came with what they want, with the struggles that they had, and we would sit as a group and resolve them together. What happened is history, my friend. But here's the beautiful thing. It was supposed to be 6 sessions. The group came alive in the 6th session. And problem is they're still alive. And they've got their group and they have these brilliant conversations going on. We did a trek. So it was supposed to end with an expedition. And we did that. We managed to finish it with an expedition in the Himalayas. So that's something that I would really like to push a little at some point in time. But it's not easy. So, okay, done. Woo! So let me explain to you why I did this. And I wouldn't be stressing it too much if I said, hey, you know what? Any audience you walk in front of, and that might include corporate groups, adult groups, youth groups, children's groups, doesn't matter. It could be 2 people and it could be 50 people. When you walk into that room, you are changing the dynamics. And as educators, we need to be really cognizant of that, conscious of the fact that walking into that room, even in this room, the moment I switched on my camera at 4:45, I knew that it's going to do something to people. And it does. All of us do it. We need to be conscious of it. Now, you can either wait for this question about how did you get into experiential ed after the course, or you can put it out there and say, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is how I see myself. That's one way of doing it. So you do the talking, a self-introduction if you want to call it. Or even better, and this is true across whatever work we do, is to transfer the responsibility to your group. Why should I do the thinking about what to share with you? Why not just get you to think about what it is that you want to know that will help you as the audience who's going to receive stuff, get you to find affirmation for any of the doubts that you might have about me. Much better way. That way you get your audience to think. And participation has already begun. So I kind of conned you. It's another way of conning you into saying, hey, this is your course, not mine. Don't forget that. And you can practice this, and there are many different ways of doing it in classroom sessions. But don't ever forget that we bring influence into the room. And that influence is critical to the learning process, which we will learn a little later in the course. And it's much better to get some things out of the way earlier rather than later. Okay? Great. Your turn. Oops. Oh. Okay, so this is what's going to happen now. you're going to be thrown into different rooms. You don't know who's going to be there. But Chetan's going to put you into breakout rooms. We're going to have 10 breakout rooms. So there'll be about 5 people in each. Have a conversation. Discover about each other. When you share information about yourselves, we would like somebody to take on the job of the note taker. Okay? And we'll be sending you a URL. And as you go through that conversation, find out how many similarities exist within the group. And at its simplest level, it could be, oh, we're all from Pune. Yay, okay, we got one. So location would be, what you type into that would be Pune. But you might also discover other similarities such as, hey, we've all got one sibling. Or even sharper than that, maybe we all have one golden tooth. I don't know. You figure out what that similarity is. Okay? Now, there are different levels that you can handle this at. The safe level is talking about logistics about ourselves. I did my graduation, I did my post graduation, stuff like that, which is not you. It's about you, but it's not you. And then there are other conversations you can have around that, which can go a lot deeper, and you discover about each other, and you may be cities apart, but you sense a kind of a kinship with that person, and your conversation may go way beyond this group. So you decide how much risk you want to take in that conversation. And sometimes we need somebody to push those buttons by asking that most embarrassing question, like how many girlfriends or boyfriends have you had? I don't know. You decide. I don't want to put ideas in your head. Okay? So I'm going to give you 15 minutes. So once you get into the group, assign a note taker, and we want only that note taker to type in. So you'll all get the URL, but only the note taker from that group needs to take the responsibility of typing those words in. Yeah?
It's on the WhatsApp.
And it's on your WhatsApp. So on your phone, you can just type in the words. Okay? Clear?
Yes.
Super. You ready? And there's an automatic system. You can't run away from your breakout room. I will drag you back in 15 minutes.
In all her
Okay?
wokeness.
Yay! Have fun, guys.
Amana and all her wokeness.
Welcome back. Can you see the screen?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So here's
Yeah, Vishwas.
I can see all of you on one screen. Brilliant. Wow. Okay. Well, you can see what the similarities are. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. Okay. Very clearly, the largest words are the ones that are the commonest amongst this entire group. Outdoors, environmental issues, your multilingual. Everything else is. Okay. But any idea why we did this and why is it important? We know why we did it. Do we know why it's important? So if you want to speak, just raise your hand and put your mic off on. Otherwise, keep your mic off. Why would we do a thing like this? Okay, all you deepers, last chance.
Find out what's
Right, Divya.
common among the bigger group.
Why?
It helps create a safe space.
So that we relate to each other.
Why?
Find common ground.
I feel knowing each other will ease us our way. This course.
It'll create better communication, and we'll be able to communicate in a way which is easier, and that there are certain similarities, so we stand on the same ground and we think alike, or there are certain bits which are similar, so it just causes satisfaction and ease.
Do you think we did it for satisfaction?
Oh well, I was satisfied after talking to so many people during corona times.
Oh really? Okay, so what are you satisfied about?
Just the fact that you were able to find similarities from people who are around in the country and you've never seen them before. So, oh, I know you're from Mumbai. Oh, and also the fact that you've lived in Delhi also for a long period of time. So it just feels good. So you feel contented to just know that yes, there are so many people around you, and it's like a very basic thing. I mean, not that we just talked about this. I mean, we talked about a lot of other things, but just giving an example.
So could we have done this? Could I have sent you a form?
Sorry?
Could I have sent you a form? And then you fill it, and then you share it. Some of you get information out there in the assignment, right? A request for everybody else.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, a request for everybody else to put their mics off. Zen. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I just want to dig a little deeper because I think we need to really know why we do a thing like this. One is certainly feel good, but why feel good? And the information that you shared, for example, if you have read everybody else's little piece that they wrote about themselves, have you read it in the assignment? Yeah. And then you spent some time right now. Was there a difference?
Yes, there was a difference.
What's the difference?
You're able to see people, and there are more facial, like you connect more when you're able to see each other and talk.
Gayatri, who is you?
Who's me, as in? I don't get your question.
You are able to, you see, you started off with you are.
I am able to connect better. Thank you.
From here on, just as a norm, when you speak your truth, please use the word I.
All right. Thank you.
I know it. In other places, you may have been told that we is larger than I. I don't come from that school of thought. We is a great place to hide. You is somebody else's story. When you start a sentence with I, it becomes you. Is that clear? So there'll be times when I say who. And the there is speak your truth. So go ahead and tell me that again because I couldn't hear it.
I was trying to say that I was able to connect better when I was able to see the person in front of me. There were more emotions that were shared through facial expressions.
Can you name a few?
You're just digging deeper. Should we go to somebody else and ask?
Right. So just remember this. Sometimes it feels like I'm grilling, and the intention is not that. And you can put your mic off, and I get it, and somebody else can pick it up. And that would be a wonderfully polite thing to do as well. I agree with you. Yes, Rahul. Rahul, you have to put your mic.
I felt that, yeah, I felt that when we read, words don't have tones. The reader applies his tone to the reading. But when we are talking, the tone was very clear, and I could really decipher exactly what it meant. I mean, there was no inhibitions because I'm talking to somebody whom I don't know. So I was very open to peel myself off and present myself because I know I was not going to be judged. So very nice. And so opening up to somebody really new, meeting for the first time, was a wonderful experience. And I felt it was extremely refreshing to introduce yourself to somebody whom you have never met in life.
if I may add, hello. Uh, yeah. So it's also something like reading a book. When you read a book, you make a picture, you imagine how the person or who the person would be, and things like that. And when you actually meet, it's sometimes a very different story. Sometimes they match. Something like that also happens when you actually meet and get to know. I think Vishwas is his hand. The screen is frozen.
Yeah, sorry, I can hear you now. Can you just say that again, please?
Yeah. So I was just saying that, it is also like reading a book. Like when you actually read a book, you start imagining the place, the people, the person, etc. But when you, maybe sometimes you watch a movie, right? And then the picture comes up. So similarly, when you're actually reading, you have a picture and all. And when you meet the person, maybe they are like something completely different or maybe same. And all those kind of things, happen.
Okay.
And it's nice.
Cool. Any kind of work with, yes, Gauri.
So for me, I think what was also exciting is just seeing and listening what people weren't saying, how they were responding to each other, how if someone said something, someone suddenly remembered something else. So I think when something like this happens, two things happened for me. One, realizing, oops, there are things about me which I don't use when I introduce myself. I'm like, oh, that's also something that I can say about myself. And I think second is just seeing how we were responding to each other. And also like how people were responding to me when I was talking. All the nods and smiles also gives me energy. So I think that is what was cool.
Nice. So, I think a lot of people in this field who have been experiential educators and who've always felt that whole personal interaction thing is the thing. I'm beginning to sense through these 4 or 5 times that I've been on the screen that a lot more is possible than we think, even through this medium. And the only now question is, how do we just get better at it so we can enrich even this Zoom relationship. Okay, and I'm still discovering, and we're going to try and do everything possible to make it that way as we move along. So just remember that there are at least 4 other people in this large room that you now know a little better, that you can reach out to. And if we can do this in 10 minutes on screen, can you imagine the potential next time when this COVID thing disappears? How, if we can do this in 15 minutes here, surely in person we should be able to do something even more powerful. Okay, great. So that's one thought. The second is, no matter how long you are going to be in attendance with your audience, it can be 2 hours, it can be 2 days, it can be the whole year in an academic year, let's say. That every day of the year you walk into your classroom, your educational space, you have changed and they have changed. Life has been happening to us in between yesterday's class and today's class. And there are wonderful ways that you can. So I'm just calling this a check-in. There are lots of check-in activities that you can do where you can get people to connect quickly. Okay? And one principle that we all need to remember in the learning process: connection before content. It's not in my notes. I just said it. So, if all you note takers, I think for me this has been driving a lot of my work. That how do I get these people to connect? And very often I've just let go of the objectives of the program if connection was an issue. Because what's the point in doing a team building workshop if they're not able to connect with each other first? The whole purpose of a team building workshop is connection. So let's do the connection bit first. And it begins with your presence. Don't ever forget that. What you do The person who walks into that space on that day with all the worries, with all the anger, with all the joy, with all the love, whatever you may be, your group is sensing it. We are animals first. That part of ourselves responds first. So if you walk in having just had an argument with the rickshawala, you're going to bring that anger into that space. They're going to sense it and they're going to respond to it accordingly. So now don't wonder why your class was not responsive on a particular day. Maybe we need to check in with ourselves and say, okay, what was going on with me that they responded that way? Which is why I spent this first session, we spent an hour on this. Connection before content. Content we will do. Okay? Great. Are you ready to go to content? Okay, I'm switching computers again. Okay. Right. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think that is?
Brain activity right before sleeping.
Brain.
Our thoughts. These are our
Flowers?
Confused brain.
our thoughts.
Doodles and scribbles. Cotton candy.
Those are black lines on white background.
Okay, this is the brain. No arguments. Okay? And the person who's sitting there right now is sitting with the brain right there. And there's a whole lot of things going on right now. You've just been through a conversation with a few other people. Your response at this point in time, day one, hour one, through the course that we're going to be on, very simply defined, let's just draw a line. Yeah. Okay? Simple line. And you, at this point in time, can be, and this is choice, okay? You can find yourself either above the line or below the line, depending on how you're feeling. A description of below the line approach is defensive, closed, and you already know the answers. Okay? What do you think that's going to do?
End conversation.
End the conversation, yeah. What else could it do?
Limit learning.
Limit learning. Absolutely right. So,
arguments.
Arguments.
Late resistance.
You know it all. See, you already know it. Here's another thing I have to tell you. Everything that we're going to be doing, I believe you already know it. I'm just giving you words for something you've always known. And I'm guessing that right through this course, you're going to give me confirmations that, yeah, I knew that, I felt that, but I didn't quite know how to express it. Here's a great way of doing it. Oh, by the way, all you compulsive note takers, we will be giving you a PDF of everything that you're going to see on screen. So if it's going to be on screen, unless you love writing, which I do too, I have this thing called an iPad, and can you see this? I make my notes on that, and it's a lovely instrument. I'm not selling Apple, but I tell you, it's brilliant. Okay. So if you are below the line, and if you are sitting here wanting to learn something, it makes sense that you start climbing. And you're the only one who can do that. I can't make you do it. And above the line is open, curious, and committed to what we are here for. Here are some other examples. So if you want to know more, that's where you can get it. 15 commitments of conscious leadership. You Google it, and it's not very expensive. It's, I think, about $6. You can buy that little booklet. Okay, here are some other ways of recognizing where you are. I can tell you, you already know this. But if you say it to yourself, there's a problem. Then you stop listening, and you can choose an alternative behavior, which is, okay, so I knew this. What else can I learn? Now you find that there's immense scope for learning. I'll give you an example. I've been in this field for like 30 years, right? I've been reading books, and I've been reading books about, you might say, almost the same things seem to emerge in every book. But I have this I have this interesting ability that when I pick up a book, I want to feel like an idiot. You know what that means? I don't know this. Because what that person is telling me through that book is through their interpretation of it and their language, and it's different from mine. And therefore, I keep telling myself, wow, this is a fantastic way of, putting it out there, of explaining it. So this entire course, I have to warn you, is my interpretation of experiential ed and my experience with experiential ed and its practice over the past 30 years. Wherever I have got information from other people, you'll see their names there. Sometimes I steal stuff and I don't know it. Okay? And at this point in time, Mera Bharat Mahan hai, I'm going to just claim that show me where it is. I'd love to see it, because if there's another person who's more intelligent than me and has intelligent enough to write a book, and I've said the same thing, wow, I must be intelligent too. So for that moment, I'm not an idiot. So you may already know this. See what new things you can learn from it. I'm telling you, a lot of people are going to say, oh, but you're giving me a corporate example. I don't work corporate. Or you're giving me a classroom example with children, but I've never taught children. This course is about principles and practice. They work anywhere, everywhere with the same power. So if you catch yourself saying this won't work for me, bring it up. Let's have a chat. Call me some other time, and I will do something about it. Sharing is being paused. Why? Yes. Oh. Can you see my screen now? Yeah. Okay. Right. So climb that ladder. Why is this? If you click to there, including this. That should be fine. 1 second. Okay? Yeah. So that's your answer. And ask yourself this, how can I make this work for me? Because it's obviously important. See how you can make it work for you. How many of you have one of these right now? You can just do a thumbs up or raise your hand or whatever, and I can see you. Are you telling me none of you are feeling stupid? Okay, Sam.
Extremely.
Okay. Okay. This is my answer. Okay? There's a difference in approaching a question seeking confirmation or out of curiosity seeking clarification. And if you ask me a question seeking confirmation, I will grill you. I am not kind when it comes to that. But you have the freedom not to agree with me. Okay? Do your own thing. Find your own answers. If you ask me, I will give you mine. And if you're shy, put it in the chat. Okay? This screen is going to come up in every session. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to check in with you. You may have some, and we'll spend some time on this before we move on, because between sessions, you're going to go through life for a week. A whole bunch of things are going to happen to you. And you have the freedom to make the connections back to the principles that we are going to be talking about. So anything that we do here, I think experiential methodology is only a, what's the word? It's just a reason to be here together. And you can practice it in the classroom, yes, but you can also practice it with your family, in your relationships with your partner, with your children, with your parents, with anybody. So I get this question asked constantly, how do I apply it with so-and-so? And my answer will always be, show me how you can do it, because it's got nothing to do with groups. It's got something to do, by and large, and every topic, every principle seems to go back to a conversation in philosophy for some reason. Yesterday, I had my fifth session, which with the other group, which was by and large question and answers, and the questions were very, very similar. And they were all about, how do I apply this in my relationship with my child who doesn't listen to me? How do I get him to do his homework? Okay? And I'm not going to give you the answer right now, but I will. It will emerge. Okay. So we're going to be on this journey. And this is the map of the course, more or less. Raise your hand if it doesn't matter to you that you don't know what each session is about. Raise your hand if it doesn't really matter to you. Okay. Raise your hand if it's really important for you to know what each session is about. Okay. So this is for you people out there. And those of you who were shy to put your hand up, don't worry about it. Here's, and I don't know if you will understand it, because I had enough trouble trying to put it into 2 lines. But here it is. So today is largely, it's that struggle stage. You got to put in a lot of effort to stay attentive. Because I'm guessing this session is going to extend. Should I just tell you something or ask you something? Okay, so it's hard work, staying attentive. What the hell is this guy talking about? Move on, give me some content. I want stuff that I can, and I'm going to slow it down. This is that stage. You won't be moving much, or so you think. So we've done some of this, you, me, and everyone else in this group. We'll be talking about some of its limitations and what is this? I mean, what is this experiential learning, experiential education thing? And some of the elements of experiential methodology. Next Saturday, we'll visit some of the theory. There's a hell of a lot out there. I will each week. So, for example, for next week's session, I will be dumping stuff into a folder that you can access. Those of you who like information and like data and like the written word, feel free to access it, read it, raise questions, whatever works for you. Okay? And those of you who don't, I said this before, don't start feeling guilty. Because we will discover that about 70% of this group want to joyfully float through the 8 weeks. Just experience it, enjoy it, be in the moment. And here's my word of advice. When people say they're open, you heard that, right? This is what it means to me. So get some of this operational. Pause it. Whoosh. What? You're crazy. This can't be true. Oh, maybe I should try it. Whatever it is, let that go on inside there. Pause it for a while. Don't discard it too early. There was this Egyptian dance song, right? Walk like an Egyptian. Yeah, okay. Hey, maybe that's one of the things their hieroglyphics were saying. Okay, so second session, we will talk about how, when, and where learning happens. So the environment, the people, what you say mindful of, what threatens or supports learning, how can we create safe environments. Session 3 will be about the spaces. What does it mean to bring adventure into the classroom? What are the elements of adventure that we can bring into the classroom? All you outdoor educators out here, you're going to find it the hardest to stay in these sessions. Just keep your coffee going. I've been doing this for 15 years in this country. And I think one of my aches and pains, one of you asked me that question, what's your biggest pain? My biggest pain is the people who have the ability to affect their audiences most want to learn about the methodology the least. हो जाएगा अरे पहाड़ पे ले जाओ. Oh, some of you may not understand. Sometimes I trip into this Hindi thing because it's sometimes gets easier. But Olya and Dolph and Natalia have a translator next to you, but I will try and do that. So it's like you take them up a mountain and something's bound to happen to them. Yeah, sure. But do you know what? And if something does happen, how are you going to deal with it? What will you do with it? Or will you just let it be? And these are the choices we make with any powerful experience. So we really need to understand this gap between adventure and education. So somewhere, I think my journey really began. The purpose of my doing what I'm doing is to bring the spirit of adventure into the classroom and to bring the joy of education into the outdoors. That's my theory. You won't find it in a book. Or at least I haven't found it yet. So we'll also talk about what practices you can take into your own learning spaces. How do we help build connections in the classroom? Why is connection such an important piece? What are some ways of transferring responsibility of the learning process itself to our audiences? Instead, how many of you are classroom teachers, school? Wow. Okay. Do you like correction? Do you like doing correction work? Good. I can see that. I didn't. So when I went to the classroom to teach, I just said, I want this to be a jolly good ride for me first. Because if I am happy, those kids are going to be happy. And I just got them to do everything. We'll talk about that when we come to that next session, which might be looking at how do we design curriculum and approach to any learning environment. So building community in the classroom, what does that mean? And the last two sessions, so reflection is an important piece. How do we get people to reflect well? How do we ask a really good question? What are some ways of thinking it through? And just remember, when it comes to this part, if you ask me a question, sometimes my answer will be this. Do you know what this means? Those of you who know it, please speak up.
experience of 5 years plus.
Well, plus is this.
Okay.
And if I keep doing this, hey, it means I'm essentially also there, that I'm also learning. So I have no idea how long it's going to take. And I know that every time I am working with a group and trying to get them to reflect, I have about 50 things going on in my head and saying, and then in that fraction, I have to be attentive to whoever's speaking. I've got to try and understand that. And then I've got to come up with that beautiful, okay, you know what a surgeon does? Okay, all you deepers, shut up. What does a surgeon do? I'm waiting.
Operate.
Surgery?
Yeah.
Okay, imagine a surgeon is operating. Okay?
Okay.
How does he do it?
Tools. Carefully. Tools
Meticulously.
and
What is he
knowledge.
using? What is he using?
Following
Tools.
a procedure.
Knife.
A procedure.
Yeah, what's that procedure? What's that thing he uses? What's the tool?
Scalpel.
Okay, why not a saw?
Right tool for the right.
Yeah, the appropriate tool.
Appropriate tools for appropriate.
To be delicate.
Right? Now, as a facilitator, we are surgeons. Or we want to be. And sometimes we've got to go through that process where we say, okay, I want to operate on the appendix. Now, those of you who don't want to imagine this, please don't shut your ears. But imagine if I took a saw. But no, what the surgeon does is, it's sharp, it's slick, it's neat, it's sweet. That word sweet describes it's like it has to have. In facilitation, thank God, it's not as bad. But God knows I've seen facilitators who will use the saw and make their patients, their audience, bleed because they asked 15 questions in one breath. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah?
Yep.
So we're going to be revisiting this role of us as educators and facilitators as surgeons. We're trying to do good, but we also have to build the tools. Okay, great. So we'll do some of that. And those people who've been through deep and know that we've spent 2 days on reflection, and all it does, people tell me, is create more confusion. And I say, hey, great, that's a great place to be, because if you can see what you've been doing, then there is still hope. So just keep going at it. And you will get better. And there are ways of doing it, and we might talk about some of them. But just remember, all of this goes back to us. Okay? It's not something you do out there. Experiential education is a methodology. We induce it, we drive it, we invite it, but it begins with us. Don't ever forget that. Okay. I have no idea. But I can tell you what my intention is. I want to share some of the work that I've done over the years in the context of designing and making classroom experiences more powerful. And that will include looking at curriculum and maybe seeing with new eyes. And I'll share with you what I have done. And if you've done it, great, redo it. Do it better. And if you haven't done it, great, opportunity. Okay? So, you okay with, I've given you a lot of detail, no? Okay, great. So, just some ideas: sequencing activities, revisioning classroom design. How do we look at curriculum? How do we break it up? What do we really want? Why are you doing what you're doing? Getting some answers to that. The field is wide open, and we'll just play with it at that point in time. Okay, we're already on the road. Welcome to the journey. I don't know when the next chai stop is going to be, but you know what? Hey, maybe it's time. So, take a 5-minute break, walk around, shake a leg, shake a head, shake a hand, go get a cup of coffee, take a bio break, whatever you want to do. 5 minutes, take off. If anybody wants to ask questions, I will sit here. For those who want to disappear, get lost.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yes. So, are we discussing about the impact of COVID on education and how to mitigate in the long term? Because I've been going through some articles and readings. It is telling like its impact is for very long years, and we have to make very strategical interventions.
Where are you with it? Are you below the line?
No, I'm trying to come above the line.
Great. So, you know what? I have no faith in all those people who say this is the end of the world.
True.
That's it.
Yeah.
And this is what we're doing right now is my thing. I'm just going to attempt to reach you with that hammer on your head as much as I can.
Great.
Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Don't worry about what they're saying. Just look at what you can do. Okay, some of you don't want to take off. I'm just going to take off for the 3 minutes that are left. I just realized that it's possible that I'm talking very loud.
No, not really.
Okay, so you have a volume button on your.
Yeah. Not to worry.
To do whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just do your thing, we do our thing.
Yeah, man.
Hey, by the way, just a question. Who scratches your beard nowadays?
Huh?
Who scratches your beard?
I'm missing you, man.
I'm coming home.
Sorry, this is Zarira now. He is who he is. You just have to forgive him. Okay. Right. So here's one of those thoughts that affected me fairly deeply, and it was one of the first quotes that I picked up. You know how if you're an experiential educator and you hear something once, you begin to hear it in other places as well. So this is one of those quotes that spoke to me. You see, most of the times we don't even know it's a peach tree. We don't even know what that kid's made up of. We've got 40 of them in our classroom. Or 60, I don't know, or 10. We don't even know what that tree is. So coming back to what I said earlier, connection before content. That connection, not just between the group, but between you and the group. And who are these people? Before you make up your mind about anybody, any new person you meet in your life, please think about how much judgment we pass like that. And is it possible for me to get into a different mode in my head and say, hey, you know what? I know very little about that person. Why am I passing judgment so quickly? Maybe I need to explore and find out. So exploration, connection, content. And I think my big question in that was really, what's Poe's motivation? How does Shifu get Poe to become the warrior? And here's the thing. He tries all his tricks, right? Doesn't work. It's only when he's at the end of it and he sees this guy in the kitchen going through all those big moves and he says, this is what those cookies are, his motivation. And he uses those cookies. So here's the proposal. Let's find out what our children and all those people in our lives, okay, what motivates them, what gives them energy. Because that's the inroad. And to be able to do that, we have to be able to create those experiences that will parallel that. And Chifu does that really well in the movie. And the beauty is this, that his hunger is not for food, it's trying to satisfy something else. And when he actually gets that one dumpling, what a beautiful line, I'm not hungry. And he's referring to, sometimes I wonder what he's referring to. Is he referring to the dumpling or the kung fu? Yeah, just something to think about. So we have to nurture what we have. How do we nurture it? I wish I could show you that little piece where ee2go does that with his clawed hand. It's such a beautiful movement. There's something so gentle and complete and incomplete about it. And that's the heart of it. How do we nurture? And one of the answers is start from where they are. This is not about us. This is about them. Start from where they are. What is their understanding of physics, chemistry, maths, life, geology, landforms? I don't know, whatever it is that you do, leadership. So I came to a point where when I was doing leadership work, I had read enough. And I said, anything more I read is just going to get me to copy that into my work. So instead of copying, what I started doing is I decided to think about what is my definition of leadership. And we are a collection of all that stuff we've read anyway. So some of that wisdom is going to come through. And then when you do it yourself, it becomes yours. Then when you go in front of that audience, you begin maybe by beginning with a discovery about what does leadership mean to you, instead of saying leadership is A, B, C, and D. Start from where they are. Find out about them. Can I just tell you a story? There are lots of stories, man. Okay, so here's the story. I was doing a leadership thing, right, with an organization. And those days, I used to be really experimental. I'd kind of push my limits and people's limits. And I did this thing called, some of you may have done it or experienced it or done it by yourself. There's something called a life story. And there are different ways of doing it. And they did their life stories. So it's like visiting the past. Who are you? So some of you asked me that question, who are you today? That's a separate conversation. So when I did that, this is the story he gave me. So his earliest memories, so he was the son of a farmer, poor, grew up in a village, from a community that was not accepted. And he wanted to go to school really badly. Now, some of this sounds really cliched, but this is his story as I remember it. Okay? And you know how stories change over time, right? So which of it is masala now, I have no idea, but it makes for a wonderful story anyway. So he walked to school every day, 3 kilometers, 2 and 3, 4 kilometers back. He was very small. And the teacher didn't want him in that classroom, so he would humiliate him, punish him, do all kinds of things. One day, as punishment, he asks this kid to, in the villages they use dung to coat the floor surface. So he says, okay, this flooring needs to be done. Do this over the weekend. And he obviously felt something, right? And he described it, and he was in tears when he was telling the story. He said, I did it, but from that day I said, I'm going to do something about this. And every year his father would say, enough. Now get back to the farm. He studies hard. He passes. He sits for his 10th exam. Distinction. Now he has to go to a city. He comes to Pune to do his 11th and 12th, has no money. Father is still saying, enough, get back. Your 10th pass now. You've become very intelligent, but the farm needs looking after. He comes to the city, lives for 2 years in a shared accommodation. I don't know if you've heard of this, but there are places where you get a place to sleep and you have 8-hour shifts. Goes through college, 12th grade, passes with distinction. Father still saying the same thing, get back home. He doesn't know what to do. He's got no money. Father doesn't have money, still a poor farmer. So he decides he wants to do engineering. He goes to colleges and they say, if you can't pay the fees, you can't join. Tries to meet the principals of the college. Most of them don't let him in. He says, who's this kid? One principal allows him, says, okay, let me see him. And he walks into that principal's office and he says, I will give you the gold medal. You give me free boarding and free education. I guess that principal on that day was just in a good mood or in an adventurous mood. He says yes. He does that for those 4 years, does his engineering, gold medalist, passes. Father says, enough, now you've got a degree, now you can get back and get to the farm. But now it's too late to farm, right? Your son's an engineer. So he says, now take a government job. So he takes on a government job, works in this government job for the next 14 years, 15 years, I don't know. By the time I met him, he was like 40. Then the IT revolution happens. He moves from a government job. Father still saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you giving up a government job? So when I finally met him, he was in the IT industry for a few years. I said, wow, what a remarkable story. However, and I'm guessing that many of us have come across people like this who've been through the hardest of times and look at what they do for themselves. Now, I don't know who nurtured him. I'm guessing there was somebody out there. But if his father believed that he was a peach tree on it and he would only grow up to be a peach, maybe he did. Maybe that was the peach tree and the father didn't recognize what seed it was at all. And I think we make this error when we look at our audiences, that we pass judgment, we say this is a 30% kid, so on and so forth. And for the rest of the life, that kid's going to remain that way. I did an experiment about an assessment method, which I'll talk about in one of the sessions later. And maybe I was lucky. Maybe those kids were smarter than they said they were or performed. But it was a remarkable experiment. So what do we do? What is this methodology? Uppermost for me is when we encounter our audiences, our job is to create disequilibrium. What is disequilibrium? Very simply, a gap between what they know and what they are now encountering. They have no answers. None of their old stories have answers for the situation that they have now been put in. And that is disequilibrium. You ready to experience it? Yeah? Okay. Do this. You know how to do this? Everybody do this. Okay? Now, look at it. Which thumb is on top? Left hand thumb on top. Raise your hands. Yeah, this is like almost 50%, right? Okay, you do that? Comfortable, right? Do it quickly. Yeah, okay, very comfortable. Now, change it. Get your right thumb on top. Just do that first. How does it feel?
Bit difficult, uncomfortable.
Different, uncomfortable. Yeah, now try and do that.
No, actually, fingers won't merge at all when we change the hand.
So here's the old story, left whatever was normal, and here's the new story. What I just did was create a disequilibrium for you. Now, if you keep doing it, it might work, but it'll take time. Okay? Try another one. Cross your arms. Which is on top?
Left.
Right.
Left? Okay.
Left.
Change.
Right.
Change.
What do you mean? Which is on top?
Show me your hands. I can't see. Yeah, that's your right hand on top.
Okay.
Now change that. So funny, man. I'm feeling funny. I can't even get it right. Because when I do this left hand seems to go underneath like this.
Yeah.
True.
When I shift it, I'm doing this. Got it? Do it quickly. Now do the shift quickly. That's disequilibrium. Okay, here are some questions, and you can or you don't need to answer them. Everybody wears pants, right? Okay, we all wear underpants. Which leg do you put in first?
Right.
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 You get into pajamas tonight or after a bath tomorrow, please try the other leg.
Okay.
Your homework. I'm going to give you one more. And see what it feels like, okay? That is disequilibrium. This did I do last time? Which hand do you brush your teeth with?
Right.
Right.
Any lefties here? Okay. Right. Tomorrow, or tonight, I hope you're good citizens of the world and brush your teeth at night, because that's more important than the morning. Please brush your hand with the left hand. Try it. Okay? And your brain is going to scream at you. It's going to give you all the good reasons to stop that and shift. Okay? It's going to say, oh, all the teeth won't be cleaned. How do you wash your face? Both hands?
Yes,
Or one
both
hand?
hands.
Sometimes.
Both hands.
Sometimes.
One hander's hands up. And which hand is it? Okay. After the session is over, try the other hand. That is disequilibrium. Our job, primarily in this field of the practice of experiential ed, is to create disequilibrium between what they know and what you create for them.
Vishwas,
Yeah.
I was just thinking that in the process of creating disequilibrium, it's also about how comfortable I am with that disequilibrium as a facilitator.
Class.
Why is that?
Like, just in terms of, I think one just being comfortable with not going with the plan.
Hey, you know what? You're young. You've already been comfortable for so long.
Yeah,
I want to be there.
There's this particular, it actually reminded me of a particular context where I was doing a training, and there were multiple times when there were triggers when I wanted to start a conversation about gender, even though it wasn't in the agenda. And there are all these things about how you just have 4 days. And if you open that conversation, you cannot wrap it up. And so there's so many things that I'm just saying that in my head, I think in that moment, there were so many things that were telling me not to create space for that disequilibrium.
What did you do?
I did create that space, and I ended up not finishing a part of the agenda.
Have you know of anything that's ever finished? Do you think we're going to finish this course?
I hope not.
And if you're okay with that, why are you not okay with that happening to your audience?
Sure.
That's one. The second is, I hear what you're saying. There's multiple times when your audience creates that disequilibrium for you.
Yeah.
Yeah? I mean, I can tell you stories of how I went on a corporate training program, one of those elite ones, and they all protested and mutinied, and they said, we don't want you here. And I found a very non-violent way of dealing with it, but I had to be in the moment there. I had to be alive to what was real. And I had to accept that this was disequilibrium for me. And once I did that, man, I tell you, it was brilliant. My experience with the screen right now, disequilibrium for me too. I'm not a master at this. You should see how wild I am in the classroom. But I find that I can be equally wild even on screen, with its limitations. Yeah? And so, know that, tell you what, please get out of this thing that you have to be able to do it before you get somebody else to do it. You don't. You got to be aware that this is likely to happen. The only thing you need to be able to learn how to do, you will never know it, is to be able to pull it back when time comes. So plan your escape route well, and then go out there and bump your head and bumble along. I tell you, which is why I say this. Okay. The key is this: create the disequilibrium and invite exploration. And that's what I've done right now. I said, do this, you did it, do this, and maybe some of you didn't do it. That's okay. If you choose not to brush your teeth with the other hand, that's okay. That's a choice you're going to make, but I'm going to invite you to that place so you can create an opportunity for yourself. And I think in some ways that's a way of transferring responsibility of learning to your audience. You create the possibility and step back. So we're all going to take different things from this course. Oh God, we don't have time for this. Do you have, okay, does anybody, if somebody needs to leave, no judgments will be passed. I'm just wondering whether you're willing to hang in there for a little while more. So you...
how long will that be, Vishwas?
Okay, this is what I want, another 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Yeah? Okay, and those who have to leave, don't feel guilty. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We are going to be a community for the next 8 weeks. This is what I want you to look at. We're going to send you off, and this conversation has to be fast and furious because I'm allowing only 10 minutes. And we're going to do it in the same way that we did the, what do you see people 10 years from now? Words. So we can build a word cloud. Okay, avoid sentences, just put words. If the purpose of being here is to learn something in something, I'm assuming you're here for that. In your group's opinion, what will help us enhance this purpose during these 8 weeks? What do you think will help? As a group, come up with the top 2 things. I want you to put in only 2 things. We're going to have 10 or 11 groups. So we'll have about 20 odd words. You can make a long list, but when you finally type those words into that URL that you get, make it count. Okay? And my guess is, if you don't like your group's decision about 2, and some of you feel like you want to rebel, you're welcome. Because you're all getting the URL anyway. 2 top things that would be important for us to maintain a sense of community in this learning environment. Is the question clear? Go for it.
Hello.
Hi, people.
You're on mute.
Sorry. Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so as he was talking, I actually was thinking of 2 things that came to my mind. The first 2 things that came to my mind. Is it okay if you just go in a round of sharing and then maybe we can decide which one's the best?
Sure, please do.
So the first thing that came to my mind was engage, because unless and until we engage, I don't think learning is going to happen. And the second one was be accepting of self and others as they are.
Interesting. So I think we have one common word here, engage. So engaging is important. And to what you said, your other context, I have a slightly different take to it. Is providing a very safe environment to express. So unless you feel somebody is judging you or anything like that, you may not be able to express. So engaging and giving the participants a safe environment to express themselves, to experiment, to share, or whatever.
May I go next?
Sure.
I'm looking for camaraderie and safety. Safety to express, safety to just be myself.
Excellent.
So I think safety is an emerging word that's coming.
Yeah.
That's your Madhvi.
Madhvi. Shikha, do you think instead of safety, we could use safe environment as a better word, maybe? Just an idea.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it was Zenithia, if I'm not wrong. Is that your name? That was her word.
Hi, Madhvi, are you there?
Yes, no.
So since we have a little time, why don't we get to know each other?
So after you.
Well, I am from Hyderabad. I am a counselor, and I
Okay.
also have an outdoor center.
Great.
I learned with Vishwas.
Oh, okay, great. Shikha, how about you?
I'm currently living in Pune and I'm an educator at an alternative learning center.
All right.
What about
Right.
you?
So, I'm from Delhi. I work with an education setup called GUS. GUS stands for Global University Systems. So GUS are an international chain which operates a lot of universities and colleges around the globe. So Pearl Academy, if you've heard about Pearl Academy, so Pearl Academy comes under their umbrella. So I manage their the international engagements, alliances, strategy. I work with the students there. So I am a bit of an enabler, if I can use that word in the correct sense. So engaging them, working with them, preparing them for the future, and also helping the company in their engagements with the industry and alliances and all that. I think Madhvi is not there. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Okay, let's use the 5 minutes first to. Sorry, I'm just getting us back. But we were talking about initially. But let's just finalize the words. So, one, I'm sure all three of us agree is safe environment. Creating a safe environment or enabling a safe environment, if I can call it that.
Sure.
Yeah. And which should be the second word? I think all three of us have one word for the second one. So, how about we talk about that?
I think I'd like fun, learning.
Oh,
Have
yes.
fun.
Oh,
yes.
yes.
Okay.
True. Great. See?
We're a very aligned group, no discussion. So, all right. So, should I just type it in the Menti? Have fun and create enabling safe environment.
Safe environment, yeah.
Done.
So how you guys have been during the lockdown? Let's use this time to know more about each other.
True.
Well, I'm taking out a little once in 10 days after the lockdown has been
live dangerously, like nice.
I know that in Maharashtra it is tough, and
I know. Yes, I'm aware. Yeah. So I have some friends living in Maharashtra in Mumbai. So they keep telling us how bad the situation is. I hope it's improving now.
yeah, but I have my sisters living there, but they are feeling very choked and cramped with the restrictions.
I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And especially if they are senior citizens, they are finding it very difficult.
Right. So I think the things are improving here, touch wood, in the last 2 weeks or so. So yeah, so now the curfews are gone. Everything is back to normal, almost normal, the new normal rather. So you move out, you step out, you don't see that people are really worrying about coronavirus or anything like that. So we saw how careless or how dangerously people acted the day when the government opened up the wine shops here.
Right.
So you would see them, jumping on one top of another, and like it hardly made any difference what's happening around the world. So yeah.
Rabinder, you are from Delhi or?
Yes, I'm from Delhi.
Delhi.
But I visit Mumbai and Pune frequently. So to Pune, I am always there for the Pune Design Festival every year January. So maybe next time I'll give a buzz to Shikha when we're around.
Sure.
So we also have this team of creative designers, which we all come together from all different parts and all. So it's always fun traveling here.
I miss traveling. I used to love traveling. And one of the reasons I chose to live in Pune.
Tell me about it. We all miss traveling. I met somebody yesterday, family, and we were already making plans of let's go to Shimla, let's go to Solan, let's go to Goa, maybe in the next 20, 30 days, maybe, whenever the time allows. So we're also crammed up living inside our houses the entire last 4 or 5 months. So though we have been working from home, but then sitting in one corner of a house and not moving around, not meeting people, you don't really have somebody you could punch or just let those frustrations out and everything. So yeah, everybody's feeling that pinch, I'd say.
But I think it's a good pause in a lot of senses. Pause, think and reflect about a lot of things. If we can find the time.
I agree, but then also keeping in mind the duration. How much can you ponder upon? How much time do you need to think about it? At the end, you start getting depressed or something like that.
True. I mean, it's, I don't know, it's just pushing me to strike a balance.
Totally.
I noticed my screen time has increased, which I was never for it. And I find it very irritating. Restlessness also sets in quite a bit. And a little frustrated at the fact that when you are helping students in the helping profession, I find it very difficult to enter into classes and then elicit a response. That I find difficult.
True.
That's something even so I'm teaching like really young kids to the age of like 6 to 12. And when I have to take these long classes in front of the screen with these guys, I just miss the kind of interaction and playing around we can have in the classroom.
Right.
That's something I really miss when I'm like in the virtual one. That's okay, we'll try to create.
Children are not willing to open up on the screen because they're conscious of parents around, they're conscious of their space is invaded. So they seem to be writing, but that also very hesitantly.
True. I think we as facilitators, the teachers also get a little conscious because then it's kind of someone just like looking over our shoulder at each point in time. We don't even... Yeah.
Have you all been to Hyderabad ever?
Yes.
No, I haven't. I want to. I haven't been there.
You must visit me when you come.
Sure, definitely. Thank you for the invitation. I will.
Welcome. Shika, where do you go?
So I have a lot of family in Hyderabad, majorly Secunderabad.
Acha.
So cantonment area.
Okay.
Like next to that area.
Have you visited Gandipet?
Yes, but no.
That's a nice day.
Oh, okay. So next time I'm there, I'll definitely bring you.
Yeah, my campsite is there.
Okay. So I think we're up. Time's up. Why are we not getting a notification?
I've had a long day of webinars.
Oh, seriously. That's something that's actually just boomed after lockdown as well.
Yeah. 3 hours in the morning and now another 3 hours. So it's a little bit.
Enjoy while it lasts.
So the name Apple stands for whom?
The fruit.
It's me. Bindu.
Okay, can you see the words?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we go through the next few weeks, we want to stay mindful of this. Okay? and I will create opportunity for us to revisit this and see if we are following that, whether we want to change it, ever so often. So in case something is not working or something needs to work and we want to add to it, this is ours. We can change, modify, delete, do whatever we want. Okay? Great. Did you have a good chat?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Learned something more about each other?
We did.
Yes.
Definitely.
We
Were
did
you
a lot of time.
Were you in the same rooms?
Pardon?
No.
Were you in the same rooms?
No, they were different.
No,
They were different.
So
So you
I
met
did end
more
up with
people.
one person from the previous room.
Oh, cool. So you met more people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So here's the invitation that so what we want to be able to do is to see what we are going to be going through over the next few weeks with new eyes. You may know it, remember the line, think about where you are, think about where you want to be. And there might be times when you want to stay below the line and complain, and that's fine too. And let me know what it is that you're complaining about. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes we've got to go through the depths of depression to be able to climb the mountain. And all wonderful success stories seem to have that, the dip before the learning happens or before the new experience happens. And that's okay. Okay, I'm gonna take this to the next for the next session. So just to answer the question that we discussed earlier, I have not been able to cover the content this time. I would love to hear what these 3 long hours have been like for you. So you can either put it in the chat or you can speak up. Is there something you want me to do more of or less of?
Rishaj, I have a clarity question before we go to this, if I may.
Please.
So I remember that when I was signing up for the course, it was saying 2 hours, 5 to 7.
Yep.
And now I hear that now it's 8 p.m. and you said that you didn't cover the whole course. So I'm curious if we would be staying here 5 to 7 or 5 to 8. What is the timing for our session? And it's really for my clarity and ability to plan for the next week.
Okay. So can I just give you, since we're all new to this medium, I'll tell you what's been happening with the other course. I had 4 sessions of 2.5 hours each instead of 2 hours. And I managed to finish in time in the 5th session. Does that tell you anything?
I'm a bit lost. Does it tell me that you are learning to finish it on time, or do you want me to tell that this is planned for 2.5 hours and not 2 hours?
Okay, good. I love this. Okay, yeah. I thought I'd be able to do it in 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
But I can do it in half an hour. But I think the richness comes from being able to split up, have these conversations, come back, and that takes time. So content is important, and I can assure you one thing, that if this doesn't finish in 8 sessions, then I will create a 9th one if you don't mind. My intentionality is great. I want to give as much as possible because I don't know if you'll ever join another course like this. So I'm going to try for those 2 hours, but I would urge you to give me that extra half an hour. So please make it 2.5.
Okay, thank you.
And if we finish early on a particular day, we'll just have an extra coffee in celebration. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you very much.
Anybody else? So the question was, were these 3 hours useful?
Yes.
Super.
Quite interesting.
You remember, this exists and this exists.
No, it was this.
Okay.
I think it was very useful because as an introductory session, it was good to set a context, create connection. We got bits to interact with groups in little forms. So it's almost like dipping into the water. It feels good rather than dive in. So I feel like somehow safety and connection got created in the process, even though we didn't get into too much of content.
Yeah. So here's the warning. You know what's going to happen next session, right?
You're going to make us dip our heads in the water and say, okay.
I'm going to put your head under water. So be prepared for it. I will prepare you for it. I will give you material to read before you come. If you read it, we will have richer conversations. Sleep well. Thank you for putting up with me. And we meet each other again at 5 o'clock next Saturday.
Thank you.
Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Good
night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Stay safe.